Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her guests bring you insightful conversations to awaken heart and soul consciousness. Come journey with us exploring the meaningfulness of astrology's energetic cycles and get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sue Rose Minahan, and this is Talk Cosmos. Today is March 1st. Once again, we begin another month in this illustrious year, 2026, bringing impactful changes, turning points in our lives. And we're talking about the lunar eclipse, that second eclipse in the package always, following the solar eclipse. And what's the deep meaningfulness? How are we going to be creative? Our curiosity is going to fuel that. We'll find some spiritual impact to find success if you look at that dimension, also in the reality of life. And we have a guest always with this wonderful panel starting off the first week in 2026, along with my team member, Laura Tad. So I've shared a lot, but let's find out more. We'll begin.
In the first week of the month, Talk Cosmos ignites a conversation exploring planet cycle relationships in a cosmos to understand their archetypal consciousness and meaningfulness for individuals and the collective. Blending world events, mythology, and philosophy, these are the astrologers identifying the deeper impact of the planets buzzing in our daily lives.
I'm Sue Rose Minahan, founder of Talk Cosmos since 2018. I'm an evolutionary astrologer, consultant, speaker, writer, vibrational astrology student, Dwarf Planet University graduate, Kepler Astrology Toastmasters Club charter member. I have a fine arts music degree plus a certificate in jazz. I'm an artist, musician, and certified color energy life coach. Especially, I love mythology and esoteric philosophies.
And I'm Dr. Laura Tad. I work as a spiritually oriented psychological astrologer with students and clients around the world. As a counselor, writer, and educator, I love helping people recognize their inner strengths, take advantage of auspicious moments, and navigate times of challenge with greater ease. On my own podcast, Mythic Sky Storytime, I discuss astrology, mythology, and actualizing our full potential. Learn more at mythicsky.com.
Plus, a special guest who we will introduce in just a short moment.
And as the ancient Hermetic Code reveals,
as below, so above. As above, so below.
Hi, Laura. It's great.
Hi, Sue.
Of all the quotes, I really adore that one, the Hermetic Code. And I'm so glad we have it attached to this particular chat that we do. Wow.
Yeah, it's explains how astrology works, for lack of a better word.
Truly, our whole life experience with all the mythology, everything is like, what's the mirror? Mirror, mirror, how are we looking today? Well, we have a lunar eclipse that hasn't yet happened. It's just in 2 days. It's feeling intense, but I'm sleeping well. That's the good news. Oh my gosh.
That's good.
Well, let's see. We have today with us this wonderful new guest, Lillian Bennett from Durham, North Carolina. Yes, hi, Lillian.
Hey, Laura.
Hi.
Yeah.
I was saying, hey, Sue, thank you for inviting me on.
Oh, you're most welcome. I have tried long and hard, all with my own errors. It's like maybe this is a little bit to say it's time that I'm rebooting, really getting, maybe becoming more aware of, but it's perfect timing. So that's another thing to be grateful for.
Yes.
Lillian is a co-host on another podcast that you can find through Facebook. And it's with Tracy Quinlan, who's been on before and will be later in a few months with us. So we're delighted for that. And also through YouTube, you can find her at Effective Astrology, she has quite a following there. She's a consulting evolutionary astrologer like Laura and myself. So we're really excited about that, because although we embrace these different means, it's kind of like coming home a little bit in our conversation. And she is quite active with conference workshops in tarot and astrology. She teaches classes, beginning and intermediate astrology, and decades of experience in the Northwest also with Microsoft, 500, a Fortune 500 company.
Mhm.
And a whole, glad to have you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here too.
Well, this eclipse, it's going to be at 12 degrees, Virgo, 54 minutes, almost 13 degrees. It's on the 3rd of March, the blood moon. And as far as timing goes, for general mean time, in winter, it could be universal time, same difference. It's almost at noon. The maximum moment is going to be at 11:37 and 30 seconds.
Mhm.
But for the East Coast, that's just when people are waking. Perhaps they can peep outdoors if it's clear skies at 6:38 a.m. in the morning. And here in Hawaii, we're going to have to really stay up the midnight hour. But it will be visible for a whole hour, meaning, yeah.
Yeah, in
And
certain parts of the country, the sun will be up before it's done here on the East Coast, so we won't see all of it. But the West Coast for sure. should
And in
see the whole
Hawaii,
cycle. Yeah,
the whole thing. So East Asia, just a portion, but then it's Australia, New Zealand, all the Americas during some part of it, the whole Pacific, part of the Atlantic, just an edge, the Indian Ocean, which is amazing, all that ocean activity, and both poles, which means to me a lot of nature. But yeah, the sorrow cycle. Lillian, you brought attention to us on this. You want to
I did, and it's actually going to spur me on to more of an investigation. And a lot of our peers are fantastic about eclipses. And so I went back and looked at one of them, which is The Eagle and the Lark by Bernadette Brady. And the way she breaks them down, and I have to go back and check it, but it's by sign. So the eclipses become more understandable if we group them by sign and type, I think is her criterion. But I'll go back and look. So she would call this a Virgo eclipse. And then she further goes on to say they become even more understandable if you look at them as a family of charts. And
right, which they are, yeah.
Right. And
It
so
is a
they're
family.
different characters, right? And so this one in particular, we were, I think, both a little caught off guard because she suggested that Saros cycle 133 is filled with imagination to the point of illusion or delusion, which is when we won't tell ourselves the truth. We want our idea to win. And so there's a lot of admonitions to kind of take a moment and breathe, which I see that you've captured in the notes below. But yeah, there are, I think, I don't know how many there are. I want to say 44.
No, it's
but
okay.
The key is it's a fascinating thing because since I've read it at the beginning of the year, it really fit for the last eclipse. And if you think about AI, for example, that some of the CEOs have said, hey, I'm washing my hands of this, or hey, the requirements are becoming too outlandish for our product, right?
Overwhelm, a little bit of overwhelm. They don't have the staff to maybe figure it out.
Illusion will be rampant.
Yeah, but it's
yeah, but
true.
You're right. It's
That's
overwhelming
true.
as well.
Yeah, it is. However, I love this idea to stop, watch, look, listen, to observe. It helps that inner core of us. And really, the eclipse season is a matter of the lights are out. And when it's all done and over, and it's a long period of time, these moments expand. So, but I also like this idea with the notes that you sent, that we don't have to abandon things. Just look at the insights that we will gain. So this is most intriguing to ponder.
Right, like the key is patience.
Changes.
It's patience rather than act, which is kind of not a
necessary.
we want to act, right?
Well,
But
it's a fire
fortunately,
horse year. So people
tomorrow,
there is a flavor of that.
I think
But
we'll get aid from Mars going into Pisces, because at least it'll be a little more confusing to act.
well, it will on one thing, unless you dabble in spray, maybe.
Right.
Anyway, new paint. We'll continue. Let's see. It is a South Node one. So really, it is therefore a lot of extra releasing to build upon. This sort of shows the cycles of it all. And it's always nodes. Eclipses, for lunar eclipses, is when it's almost 12 degrees within 12 degrees of the nodes, just as a little factor. And this is a diagram that illustrates how the Earth obstructs that light, which I think is a fascinating factor, because it shows that, the moon is our embodiment of our emotions and the soul part. I don't know if either one of you, Laura, want to make a comment about that or whatnot, but that's how the light, should we continue?
I'm in agreement.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. And again, this shows the bird's eye view of the cycles, because it's involving 3. I think, Laura, you speak well of this.
Yeah, I mean, I just understand that, and that the significance of it being South Node versus North Node, which was the solar eclipse we just had lined up on the North Node, right? And so then the idea too that it is perhaps, because eclipses both eclipse things and reveal things. And so particularly with the South Node, there's sort of like, well, what from our past may come into illumination as the eclipse completes, right? That's been hidden, that becomes illuminated. That's particularly about the past, because it's the South Node.
And with Mercury retrograde, we'll have to keep this theme going as we continue. Thank you both. This is a visual. You can see the blue inside, totality, and it ekes out. So you can ponder that more as you look at. Here we have the archetypes. We have Virgo, which the lunar eclipse is in, with Ceres or Demetra. And then we have Hermes, who rules Virgo. So it is that as above, so below. And of course, Mercury, as we will show, is retrograde. So we're really looking backwards and forwards, the whole 9 yards. And Ceres, who,
I mean, she's the goddess of the harvest. She's the goddess of the natural world in a lot of ways, right? So she's sort of given to both Virgo and Pisces and Taurus in that way, because she's the harvest, which is more the Virgonian quality, and the natural world that is more Taurus in terms of Earth, Pachamama Earth.
Yeah.
And then this blend of Mercury, which their myths are interwoven. So that's also sort of this correlation with Mercury being part of this from an archetypal perspective, because Mercury's part of the myth of Demeter or Hermes, helping Demeter.
He shared what was happening and
retrieve Persephone, right? So he's part of this story. And again, sort of like, so what is from the past that may come to light, may come up from the underworld?
And if I can add, that notion of the difficulty of a parent understanding, if you frame that myth as a coming of age story, then it becomes this difficulty that's even in the tarot, where you see the lovers are, in some decks, they're walking away from their parents, and their parents are like, what's going on here? What's going on? And like that, Ceres shut down the world, right, for 6 months, and that can be something we feel coming up because it's so disruptive. And then the reframing, teaching people how to grow agriculture. You were talking about that. Laura?
Teaching.
Yeah. And so there's a way to return to yourself as a parent, that shows up.
I love that. Thank you, Lillian, because really that teaching element of Ceres is so important, because during that myth, she tried so hard to recapture what she felt she had lost by embodying in another person the supernatural ability as her daughter was. But once her daughter was returned, she realized, she revealed herself. We can get into that story, but she taught, therefore she shared what she knew so other people could sustain, nurture themselves. So it's really through nurturing that.
Do I have
see
time
this
for
gift.
another little tidbit?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Lily Tomlin, my favorite Virgo, did this thing in that film All of Me that she did with Steve Martin. She played a really rich woman, and so she got, I think it was, I'm not sure who the woman is, some woman who's super rich. She asked, could you provide me with real jewels? I want to convey the luxury. And the producer said no. And so she hired her own security guard and got her own jewels. So if you look at that scene again, and she's a Virgo, she brought the quality herself and backed it up. And that's the piece that's like luxurious, sexy, and cool about Virgo that we sometimes miss. She was like,
it's very
I will have
beautiful,
real
feminine.
jewels.
Yes, it is. Ultimately beautiful, feminine, so capable, everything. Yes, indeed. Mercury retrograde happens 3 times a year. This year it's in water, which is all year, each one of these. This is the first one in Pisces. It will stay in Pisces. And it's most important because we are engaging in a very element, air and fire orientation increasingly this year. So here we have a bridge and a bit between, I see, with Saturn and Neptune that just entered on the 20th. What is that? That's not even a week ago. A bit of ago, into Aries at the conjunction spot. We still have that steamy Piscean energy to maybe that's helping with the illusion of it all. Can we see through the fog?
I love that.
Boy.
Yeah, well, and the retrograde is by its nature saying like you've misunderstood things before. You've got to go back.
Good
That's
point.
part of the gift of the retrograde, right? Retrogrades don't just mess up travel and break down your computers. It's the gift of that. It's, what did you think about what you felt before? Go back and review.
And it's a long period. There's always this shadow time when the degree begins and ends, and we have it broken down. So on the 18th, Mercury is a quicker planet. It moves 3 times around the sun every year. That's why it appears to be retrograde. But as of the 18th, it started in Pisces at that miraculous 8, when I say miraculous, at 8 degrees, because it's going to stay at 8 degrees. We'll show that later because of the eclipses for 2 months, since the 16th of February till the 16th of April. So there we are. It started at 8 degrees Pisces, the shadow. The retrograde was just a couple of days ago, 4 days ago, much later in Pisces at 22 degrees. And it will end just, I think, on the eclipse. I think the eclipse is the 20th of March. And then, of course, in April, just a few days before, while the nodes are still the nodes are going to stay at 8 degrees during this entire time. So it'll be quite impactful.
Yeah, I was caught off guard because it's the pre-shadow to the 20th is the exact period of Ramadan. And so it's interesting to me that this time it's bookended, right? By
especially with the
Mercury retrograde.
We will at the end of this program. So stay with us. Right. We will. No, I'm glad you brought it up, because just to let people know, we will be talking a bit about Iran. We had it. Now, of course, it's quite evident. Let's look at the chart itself for a bit. It's going to be on March 3rd. Again, on the East Coast, it will be in the morning, 6:37, 36 minutes. So if it was 6:38, you're safe. And there's a few, these pairs are very evident. Besides the moon, of course, being at the south node, it is a south node eclipse. We have at the north node some real activity. In Pisces, Mars is a bit not that far away. And then for the sun, we have Mercury conjunct, and with Mercury, we have Venus conjunct.
Yeah, and then we're still very much in this energy of the Neptune-Saturn conjunction. That's not gone away. That just happened.
Yes.
But I do like that it moved into fire instead of staying in water.
Tell us about that.
Well, I think I was sharing before, my sense of Pisces, I personally have Saturn in Pisces. And so I had my Saturn return this year. And as we approached the very end of that cycle, my sense was, the watery nature of that Pisces. And I often think of both Saturn and Pisces, the sign, as melancholy and sort of need cheering up before they become productive. That the last days of it was an inch of dirty water, the last cup of coffee out of a pot that has grounds in it. It's something that you're not like, hey, this is great. And so I loved, we were that notion of fog. I can't remember if it was on the show, but I feel like that Aries is trying to burn it off, right? However,
could it be, Lillian, as you speak about this, that people do tea leaf readings or even coffee ground readings?
Yeah.
This does happen in cultures, and people, symbolically is anything that you can use to enhance that freedom of interpretation that people get. It's not just literal. Yeah. The insightful, mysterious is true.
Yeah. And don't look at everything. I mean, they say when you look at survey data, you don't look at the outliers. You interview 100 people and 4 of them are, giving you very different information. You don't look at those 4. You look at the aggregate. So that's the deal. I love that way of you turning it from what could be an emotional thing, the very last of a watery sign. It could be like, oh no, I feel terrible. And you're saying, no, that's great.
Well, in a sense, it's so Piscean, isn't it? Too?
Right.
Because the seeds are within the Piscean energy.
Absolutely.
That get born, burst in Virgo. I mean, in Aries. Thank you.
You're right. And then the Mercury conjunct Venus. I don't know what you all think about this, but I always think of that as a writer. Somebody who can make words beautiful.
Literary. That's very vibrational astrology. That is the core of vibrational astrology has discovered for those. That's insightful. Well, let me ask you both about look at the green little pop-up. North Node Sun conjunct Pallas Athena, the strategist, with Mercury.
Yeah, so that's a strong part of this eclipse, right? If she's right, the same degree, it's, 30, 40 minutes different. I think that it's interesting in some ways that is echoing part of how I'm seeing the Neptune-Saturn potentiality of spiritual warrior.
I love that.
Pallas being in Pisces, echoing some of that, right? Because she's really, in myth, the strategist of war.
Yes.
She tells Mars where to go. She's really the brains behind it all.
I love that.
And so I think that may be piece of that, and a spiritual warrior in its highest potential, as opposed to what often gets put on that idea of sort of dying in the name of God sort of thing, but not so much that as much as that sort of, it could be personal crusading because it's with the sun. So a self crusade for our own souls, for our own spirituality. And that then lines up with the North Node. So it's moving forward.
Yes.
What are we crusading towards that has that higher purpose, higher meaning quality of Pisces?
Laura, that is splendid. That really elevates the consciousness. And really, in my own interpretation, and it's been as I guess we did with Stormy a month ago, it is this opportunity of new consciousness identity and bringing in that spiritual element to that degree, beyond just the physicality. Super. I'm noticing the time and realizing we have more slides here, of course, but the Sabian symbol, another metaphysical sense and Sabians, for those that aren't aware, it was 1925 with Elsie Wheeler, who was a spiritualist medium, and Mark, M-A-R-C, Edmund Jones, astrologer, who did this one for every 360 degrees. And since then, many astrologers, countless astrologers, have elaborated on Dane Rudjar, which is a big one. And here we have his example, which is and it always rounds off. There are some that don't, but generally 100, it's consensus that you round it off. So it's 13 degrees Virgo for this lunar eclipse. And it's stated as, and you have to be very symbolic. Remember, this is an analogy. A powerful statesman overcomes a state of political discord, which it was saying hysteria, but discord, because these words connote different things. The keynote is focusing on the collective need for structural interdependence and someone that answers the need for that. So I guess we have a moment. Let's flesh this out a bit, and then we'll try to lead on. Should we go on to the next? Here.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. So Mercury is looking backward. How far back, in a sense, we might ask? Because the node, especially with the lunar node, it is emotional. The moon, these are all eclipses. This one really involves the moon. It's our emotional basis. It's our attachments. And we could say in Virgo, it involves that precision of detail. And it's also how do we organize these? And it happens to be, let's look at the chart because it has a lot to do about belief systems. Oops, did I lose something? Oh, I see what we're doing. We're going to look backward, real backward, 1980. Go ahead, Laura.
Well, before we jump into this one, just a broader piece of Virgo that I always think is really important to understand is its etymological roots of the word. And so the root of Virgo is Virgos, which means to be whole or complete. And so there is a quality to Virgo that understands that everything in life is interconnected. And if it gets enough data, the pit will drop into place and everything will make sense. And so Virgo is this ultimately mind, body, spirit.
Yes.
Trilogy that it's trying to navigate. It's this intellectual knowledge because it's governed by Mercury, understanding that it's all interconnected, but not knowing how. And that's why Virgo loves data. Is like, I know it's connected. I don't see how. Oh, let me take this. Let me grab here. This might help me understand the bigger picture. That's that polarity to Pisces. So that's part of this. Is this? That's part of. So this balance, right? The polarities are not that you want to abandon one nodal archetype and go to the other. It's holding the tension between the two. That Virgonian energy of the South Node is needing to come into balance with Pisces of trust in the bigger picture, even if the data doesn't give us that clarity yet.
Right.
Wow. Whew. Key words, trust. Perfect. We're going to take a break. We're just a little bit after. We have so much more to talk about. This chart here was the last time that we had a lunar eclipse at 11, 12 degrees. And it was in 1980 when Reagan was elected, because his was that year. And you can see, just imagine yourself that at this time we're having an opposition. That means we're looking at these factors, our actions with Mars, our Saturn with our structure, what's important, Uranus, what is meaningful now. And it's a reverse nodes, which is always a learning experience. Plus there's returns of our thinking with Mercury, Ceres with our grief versus, I'm just saying these out in a nutshell, versus nurturing, and Pallas Athena. What's the strategy? So we will come back in a moment. Stay with us. We have Dr. Laura Tad and Lillian Bennett. Thank you. While we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the yin period of Pisces, ruled modernly by Neptune and by Jupiter in traditional astrology of the ancients. By leaving a cycle based on the equality of all humans and brilliancy, Pisces concludes the 12 signs that energetically encompass the entirety of the universe where humans have no control. As a mutable water sign represented by two fish swimming in opposite directions of the forces of life, we experience in Pisces the collective unconscious energy of the unknown. Intuitive, psychic Pisces completes the seed cycle, initiated with Aries' willful separation from the Piscean womb.
This is psychological astrologer Dr. Laura Todd. Please join me and Michelle Fleming March 14th through the 21st for Evolutionary Training's annual Goddess Awakening Retreat in Playa El Coco, Nicaragua. Enjoy daily yoga, well-being workshops, baby sea turtles, and more. To register, go to mythicsky.com.
Talk Cosmos ignites insightful conversations to awaken heart and soul consciousness with hour-long programs every Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific on KKNW. Also available to watch live on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel and Facebook page. While you're there, make sure you click their like and subscribe buttons so you get the full Talk Cosmos experience. You can listen to earlier podcasts since 2018, either on most podcast carriers or under the video tab on Talk Cosmos YouTube. To join our expedition and find out about upcoming programs, sign up for the newsletter at talkcosmos.com and launch your week into the cosmic wonder.
This is Martha Norwalk. Every Sunday morning, beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to newprosupplements.com, we cover the world of animals. This week, March 8th, it's our energy balancing show with best practitioner Linda Rasmussen. We'll take your phone calls, and Linda will help you and your animal friends with emotional, behavioral, and physical issues. Hope you can join us for your free remote treatments. Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Alternative Talk 1150. Local talk for the body, mind, and soul.
There you go, little hermetic. Well, this is our little moment to showcase our wonderful member and guest. We have Lillian Bennett from, as you can notice here, and she is Effective Astrology on Facebook. And
I can tell you a little more about my background while you do the slides, and you can cut me off when it's time. I just wanted to share
30 seconds.
I volunteered at NORWAC for 16 years, and I got to know community, and that's the part I love about the work I do. And I'm also interested in creating solutions that last.
Ooh, that's NORWAC is a perennial spring event for all conferences. It's so true. And your Sky Notes with Tracy. Here's a fun four.
We're in our third season, and we'd love to have you all on. We've had Laura on, and we're enjoying it tremendously, getting to know folks and showcase what they do.
I listened to one and found it just fascinating with you and Tracy Rapid. So it's great fun. Laura, tell us a bit here.
Yeah, so this is just, I have my monthly talk. That's now the second Wednesday of the month over Zoom. That's going over the next sort of 30 days of major astrological events and how to work with them. The upcoming one that'll be next Wednesday will be, or 2 Wednesdays from now, also looking at the fact that it'll be the equinox. So we'll look at a little bit of that as well. And then my podcast, Mythic Sky Story Time. I've now completed the series I started last year. That is all 12 signs, talking about them from a archetypal perspective, from a psychological perspective, a myth for each one, and a guided meditation. So you can develop your own relationship with each sign.
Package.
And then do another set of series that'll be coming out this year, looking at the planets in that way. Very and cool. Different celestial bodies.
Super. And as you heard, folks, on the little audio recording, Laura will return, notice, to the Goddess Awakening Retreat. So go to mythicsky.com. It's right there on the tab, or check this post, and it is March 14th to 21st.
Yeah.
And it'll be a great event. Also on her website, you can see Moon Journal, which is a great augmentation for all of these moon events. I always show this also for the second week because that's when Amanda Pierce and I get together and talk about both full and new moon. Now we separated that a little bit this year this month because of these strong
Eclipses.
eclipses. Yeah. But that is, and it's open. It has prompts. Dr. Tad does a really wonderful job. For Talk Cosmos, of course, it's every week, and you'll find these events that also talk about the eclipses and the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. The last one was on a vibrational and astrology emphasis that gives certain patterns that are most exciting. And it really said community is the answer. So listen to I find them fascinating. Next week, again, we'll be with Amanda about the Pisces new moon, which finishes the 6-month extraordinary pattern that we've had with the new moons. And it ends with a Libra full moon, and it had started with the Libra new moon. So find out about that. And we also have Astro Jam, which will be fun, and the equinox. Thor's hammer. Whew, powerful aspects. This is when you have a 1.5 angle that's in a square. I mean, it's a lot of action. It's just action city coming at you. And where are the action points? It's with Juno, which is our contracts. What's our alliances? Very sacred to us. And how are we healing them? With Chiron and Eris, it says, hey, you've excluded this. How are we including it? And Ceres, it says, I got to nurture, get out of my grief. So it's all with the South Node. It's a strong, strong emphasis that will be lingering as we proceed. Okay, I guess that was a pause.
You know, it's so funny to me. I have to call out the bowl shape too for this eclipse, and with the moon being the operant on the, the single operant, and being the most changeable, the vibe I get is really disruptive, right? Quite disruptive.
Well, it's, I think, locomotive.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, because it has Pluto and the moon. So it is transformational and it is emotional. So you've got the rock idea here. And look at Jupiter, which is that point of Thales, which really means that we're looking at the big picture, but we're taking in with it the strategy.
And I think maybe one of the gifts of Jupiter being there as this point of Thales, because that point that's the mediator point, right? And so perhaps Jupiter is helping Virgo to not get too caught in the weeds, and
I love that
analysis paralysis that Virgo is so hyper vulnerable to. That Jupiter is in that emotionality of Cancer, saying, okay, but what about how you feel? Get out of your head. It's not just what you think. And
that's really cool.
Embodying that emotionally a little bit more, and having greater compassion, perhaps, because you get that archetypal mama Cancerian energy that then also speaks back to Ceres, right? So it's like, how are you taking care of your needs in this way? Like, with everything that's going on, where's the self-care? Where's the self-nurture in the midst of all of this transformation? And yes, your intellect is great, but that's got to be married with how you feel. It's got to be married with the emotion.
I love that. And to the body, right? Like, I've been thinking a lot about busy hands. I've probably said that on every time I've gotten on some show. I want to do craft projects, right? I want to take a walk, even if it's just around my backyard. I want to, take a long shower because I've got Cancer moon, right? If somebody has a different
water is always rejuvenating.
Yeah, but I love that. being in the physical world is like a shortcut for me to do what you're talking about, Laura. It helps me be more present.
I love this synergetic ideas, because looking again, remembering that the earth is blocking that light. Earth is that embodiment of our soul. It's home here. And so returning to the body.
And maybe there's a way of like flipping that interpretation a little. Like I thought about it when you showed the slide of like, rather than seeing that the earth is blocking the light, maybe it's protecting.
Right. It's a deep, dark message. So it requires the darkness.
Right? Like that parental, maternal, like, I'm going to hold this in your space and protect you from the scary world. Like, is there the blessing of the lack of illumination?
And it's
as
at night
to preventing you from seeing, it's saying, oh, like with little kids and you're watching a movie and you put your hand over their eyes because you don't want them to see it.
Right.
Maybe there's a gift in that because it's like, oh, it's not time to see yet, as opposed to it's impeding our view. It's preventing us from seeing things prematurely.
I like that.
I think we'll do this for the second set. If I can't isolate them. I just love this ongoing conversation. Here we have the eclipse with the United States. This is our nation that we live in. And what's happening? Well, we can see that Uranus in the natal chart, regardless of what hour and time that you decide with the ascendant, that it is at 8 degrees, meaning it's an immutable sign. So all the folks say if you have anything within some span of 8 degrees, it's getting rocked. And it'll happen since February 16th to April 16th. And we're feeling a great deal of, and it's in Gemini. So it's all mutable and it's all ideas and it's all sudden. And we'll talk about our international events in a moment. But this shows very clearly that this is the season that we're experiencing. And also that not only that, as a back handle, that both Mercury's and Suns are being very strongly affected.
We're in this almost pretty, I mean, the sun is almost exactly trying the sun, right? We've got 12 and 13, and it's 12 and 57, 53 minutes. So it's, under a degree. It's like not even half a degree away from an exact trying to the U.S. sun.
And if I may jump in, we have a Mercury retrograde natally, which is hardly ever talked about. And this is a Mercury retrograde, meaning, and it makes perfect sense. Those people that started in 1776 had been here for a couple of hundred years, but they were all from England and Germany and Spain and France and Ireland and Europe. And they had homelands and they were reflecting, can we part? Shall we start? So they were naturally looking backwards anyway.
And they were using the language of Native American people. The whole concept was built on
the Iroquois.
The Iroquois
Federation.
The idea.
Federation, thank you.
So that in itself is sort of pulling from something that's previously been
and if I may,
stated.
I'm not sure what you've said about the year of the horse, and this is not my field of expertise. I just dove into it this year. And one of the things that I really feel is with the Uranus, this is kind of another underlying vibe, getting ready to shift into Gemini.
Yes.
With the two, the symbology of the two, I feel like this is the second layer of organization, right? There's a lot of chaos and things are kind of falling away, but it's not such a shock, right? We've been in chaos for a little while. So there's this second layer of like, here's the organization I see that could be possible. Rather than the first layer, or rather than looking back, there can be that sense of I'm building on something.
Good. Well, here we go. Exactly. Just as a recap to kind of recenter our audience along with us, this period, the 2 months since the 16th of February to the 16th of April, when the nodes are at 2 months, which is standard when whenever we have an eclipse period, because remember, it has to be within a certain degrees within the nodes to have the sun block, Earth block, to have this 3 orbits combined.
Yeah.
Meaning that look at what we've experienced. We had the solar eclipse, we had the fire horse, we had Saturn Neptune at this miraculous conjunction. Say what you will, it was actually 6,400 years since it happened last at 0 degrees, although it's a 36-year cycle getting it down to our thinking. But not in Aries, that's the difference. But Mercury retrograde is happening. We're having this lunar eclipse. We're going to have the spring equinox, and we also have the Libra full moon. A lot. So thinking for folks in your own charts, if wherever that mutable sign involves, it could be critical for you. I've got heaps of it for me. You can look and see where it works. So
and I think along those lines too, to remember that it's very infrequent that the astrological alignment means that the event happens that day.
Right. Good point.
And so particularly something, it's like it announces itself, or that's like 2 months. So it doesn't mean like it's going to be 2 months of change, or that it's only going to be during those 2 months. The stepping stones could be laid in place that reflect back to this time, right? Rick Levine often talks about how like first day of summer, not the hottest day of the year. So the perfecting astrologically isn't necessarily the moment that something transitions.
Good point.
And yet still looking back to, because it is on my ascendant. The nodes are on my ascendant, descendant. So.
And my sun's on your ascendant, so my sun's getting hit.
Yeah. Sun and moon, my sun and Mercury. Thank you. We'll be looking at the Sabians again because of these nodes. It was brought up thanks to my great team here of people to think about. So the Virgo at 9 degrees, which is the south node, thank you, for the eclipse, is an expressionist painter at work. Laura, tell us back about the 19...
Well, that was different. It just happens to coincide. It's not a Virgo point. But
That's
we
true.
do, so it's a separate thing that I was seeing, that we do get for the first time this cycle. When Neptune dipped a toe into Aries briefly last year, it didn't line up with the sun being in Aries. That does happen in March. And the last time that happened was the first Impressionist exhibit in Paris, which seemed like an interesting, so there may be some echoes of it, even though it's a different astrological moment.
Yes, it's good.
But I just think, so if we just think about what is Impressionist art, right? And to some degree, it sort of speaks to the Soros cycle of this illusionary way of thinking, because Impressionism is the antithesis of realism to some extent.
Right.
It's how do we...
Or an analogy.
And
I think of it like an analogy.
Yeah, and if I may, photography, Expressionism was a reaction to photography. Yes. When you take a photo and it kind of blurs the image, they were sort of like, wait a minute, we've been held to reality this whole time, and yet photography just messes up all the time. And so they chose to create an impression. And so they were actually criticized for that. So part of what I see in this Sabian symbol is we need our poets to lead us and guide us. We need our creative dreams and visions to construct a future.
Yes, to me, growing up, at the time that I lived, the music was our drumbeat. It told us the language of what the pulse was in life. We went, oh, wow. Let's look at the other one, Pisces 9. I didn't have a chance to put so much in, but that's okay. And I think I used a little bit of Linda Hill here along with Dan Ruchar. But it's a jockey. This is the North Node. A jockey spurs his horse, intent on outdistancing his rival. So it's that spur of attainment, takes drive, energy, skill, and interestingly, Mars is right close to the North Node right now, determined to succeed. So I think that's
It's so great because when we talk about Aries, right, we want a happy Aries. We don't want an angry, vengeful Aries, I would say. But the Saturn and Neptune being conjunct in Aries is creating new structure, I would argue. And in Aries, we want them to be able to be competitive, in a way that doesn't create a zero-sum game that hurts everybody.
If I might add quickly, though, I can't help but add, of course, what I've been learning with vibrational astrology. It doesn't come out of nowhere. They show 20,000 charts and they drive in the home of it. They look at the lifestyles of people, and they have found, David Cochran has many videos about.
Magnificent. I love that team.
Aries is honesty. It wants,
isn't that gorgeous?
Honesty. It wants to know, it wants the other person to know where they're coming from. And if they don't get that immediate synopsis, that connection, their first result is to leave. It's like, why bother? I don't need this. So it's integrity. But
so it's interesting of how it got qualified, because with this 9 degrees and just thinking about Pisces and not being a sign I think of as
exactly
hyper driven in a linear way. And I mean, the reason one wears spurs is because the horse is not moving without being coerced in some ways to do so.
Manipulated.
It is the fire horse this year. Let's get on. We have couple 2 here. Thank you both, Dr. Tad and Lillian Bennett. Just to remind folks, Iran, we are well aware last few days of the changing things. And this is not to speak politically, but I had these charts up and we're just bringing focus that, yes, the lunar eclipse is strongly augmenting them to bring out notice, because we have another couple of charts, that the natal, this is as of 1979 when the leadership changed, that now they have a new leader. They don't have that leadership, but it was April 1st, 1979. This is a Campion chart. He's in,
I mean, I think that's the chart that
3 o'clock p.m. In Tehran, Iran. Exactly, it is. So in other words,
it's considered politically.
Yes, it is. So
the beginning of
their
that
Saturn.
Government.
Yep, their Saturn was at 8 degrees Virgo. So this chart is exactly nailing it, and has been and will. And if you look at the other side of the North Node, it's also close to their Venus. There's a lot happening. And you can also see that Iran is having, amazingly, in this chart, they have Jupiter in Cancer, such as the United States. We have 2 minutes, folks. And they're going to have a return. Now, we can comment on this, but let's look at the next chart, which, Laura, you brought up because of the sun, S-U-N, S-O-N, the heir that would be
of the previous government. So Shah was the previous leader of Iran before the revolution in the 70s. And then they fled, and the former Shah, he died, decades ago, but his son was the crown prince. And so he is still alive. And it just is fascinating looking at how this is then lining up with his chart, because that Saturn-Neptune conjunction is almost exactly on his moon. We've got a 29-degree Pisces moon. And then the eclipse is on his nodes. He's got flip nodes of this eclipse.
In horary, the moon is often the public, so that's interesting. And for those that are just wanting to look at, we won't even comment on, but Mexico has also been in the field of our public right now for this nation of the USA. And you can see that the eclipse is pretty impactful there. So I thank everybody for attending and listening to Dr. Laura Tad and the eclipse happening. Oh, thank you so much. And
Thank you for joining this vibrant and insightful conversation on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her guests awaken consciousness by connecting heart and soul consciousness patterns with astrology's energetic cycles. Be sure to tune in next week, same time, same place, to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.